Right, 5, move on. An attorney friend asks you to check out an investment manager his clients are using and forwards you an email in which the investment manager claims exceptionally high returns. You find the investment manager hasn't filed any reports with the state securities department for 5 years, and a state investigator, intrigued, tells you that the investment manager claims to have moved out of the state and left the business. What do? Do you, A, use what you've learned to write a story, publish it before giving any information to your attorney friend? You don't want to give them a chance to put their money, pull out their money before anyone else. B, tell your attorney friend what you found and ask to interview his clients. If they get out before others, they're fortunate to have an attorney who knows you. C, tell your attorney friend you can't find the investment manager's annual reports, but don't tell him about what the securities regulator said because the state never reveals if it's doing an active investigation. Or D, tell the attorney to call the state securities department and sit back and wait until public enforcement action is announced. Tricky one, huh? This one was an interesting one. Yeah, is there an E in this one? I know this was a tricky one. What do you do in a situation?
It's a story tip. It's a story tip from a source, and it's tainted, which story tips often are. And if it's potentially newsworthy, you got to check it. You ought to check it out. I really like the idea of publishing it before telling the attorney what you found, and that's really crucial.
Yeah, I would agree. I think A is the way to go. I mean, it was a tip from somebody, and if your reporting finds something, you're right about it.
Liz?
See, I'm leaning more towards B. Just because, it's attorney friend, that's the thing that hangs me up. But, having access to his clients, those could be some great anecdotes. And, yeah, it is a problem that some people get out before others. I really struggle with this one. I would really have a hard time not telling a friend about a story like this that was in the works.
Yeah, I struggled between A and B and started with A and moved to B. And there's this tension between maximizing truth-telling and minimizing the harm that you do. And in some ways, it's right there. The interviews with the clients helps you to tell the story better, but it changes the harm dynamic. So,
I feel a little bit. I mean, it's not quite the same. So this is a strong term, but I almost feel like it's kind of like insider trading to give somebody else information before.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel good about being a party to some people being able to pull their money out before others.
Well, it looks like there was a very interesting split. 43% thought that A was the right, but it's close on the other ones. 30% came under B, and 26% under C. Nobody said D to wait on it.
I guess a good question would be, does it matter what the motives of the attorney were in this case? Because they do seem to be honorable motives. It wasn't like he was out to get somebody necessarily. But
right. Back here? Maybe, but we're in a real-time world. Maybe it's fast. What if that person's name was Bernie Madoff? I kept substituting that name until I heard this question.
And that was one of the points I was going to make. A is really kind of a false choice because if they got their money out first and it's found to be a genuine Ponzi scheme, any money that's pulled out of the scheme in the first 90 days prior to the insolvency, and believe me, if the regulators catch them, they will immediately force it into bankruptcy court so that meter will start clicking. If you got your money out in the prior 90 days, they're going to get it back and share it among all of the victims. That's the stage they're at in the Madoff Ponzi scheme right now, and it's creating obviously an awful lot of anguish and angst. So you don't really need to worry in A that if you tip him off and they get a chance to pull their money out, somehow they've been advantaged over everybody else. The
Yeah, and actually the clawbacks can go farther than that. I've covered a lot of Ponzi schemes, and Peter Coyote, the actor, was involved in one, and he got out a couple years early, and he still had to give up his gains. But the
True, in the federal bankruptcy code, it's 2 years for fraudulent conveyance, and that doesn't mean that it was fraudulent that you got it, it means it was fraudulent that the guy gave it to you.
yeah.
So they can claw back anything up to 2 years under federal law, and in New York State, and I don't know California, but in New York State, it's 6 years.
Wow.
So if the
Long
Ponzi
time.
scheme was governed, or the hedge fund was governed by New York State law, it can be up to 6-year clawback.
I've been very lucky with all the Ponzi schemes I've covered. Is somebody filed a lawsuit because they couldn't get their money out. So this discussion never came up. It's never been so early in the process. But I agree with. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. You were talking about the back and forth. I think there would be a lot of back and forth. Thank you.
One more in the back, Alan?
Hi, Alan Dotsman. I agree with Diana. I think there should have been a choice E here for a couple of reasons. One, nobody gives you a tip without being self-interested. Two, any lawyer I know would already know that the state had no reports for 5 years, and that would be precisely why I was sending you the tip. Three, you would have negotiated with the lawyer right up front the conditions of your discussion. Is this off the record? Are you telling me this so if I find this out on my own, I can publish? And can I talk to your clients? Four, the question would be, when you go to the state regulator, what kind of deal do you have with him about whether you're able to disclose to the person who gave you the tip that you had had that discussion?
Well, good point. We didn't want to, we didn't do an E because we didn't want it to be too easy, and I'd invite you to help write the questions for next year.
But you know, that is a great lesson to us, that whenever you're wrestling with this kind of stuff, ask yourself, what is it that we're not, what options do
that's
we
right.
have that we're not thinking about?
Yeah, you
That's
raised
probably the most important thing you can do in one
Right.
of these conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll move on. Okay, number 6. The largest publicly traded company in your area decides to bar the media from its upcoming annual shareholders meeting. It has been in the news recently for backdating options and other financial irregularities. Do you A, buy shares in the company and go as a shareholder? B, seek out a shareholder to give you his or her proxy? C, stake out the meeting and talk with shareholders as they leave and include in your coverage the fact that the company has barred reporters from the meeting? Or D, walk right in through the front door as if you belong, hoping the staff doesn't notice that you didn't sign in? So, what do we have? This was an interesting question. Actually, I wrote a column for TBJ on this one at one point. So,
Sounds like a big story in your area. I would probably do A, B, and C.
okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Other questions? Other options?
Well, the only problem with A is a lot of times they announce that their shareholders meeting is taking place for shareholders as of a certain date, and it might be too late to buy shares. So
Right. In doing this article, go ahead, Rob. Did you have something you want to jump in?
No,
Oh, okay.
you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
But you would try.
And doing this article for TBJ, I did find some companies, some media companies who did own a few, like a share or two, so that they could get in ahead of time. That was in their stuff. Okay, we look at the results. Interesting. Okay, we've got 40% A, which is buy shares in the company and go as a shareholder. And the next, it's dead even. C, stake out the meeting and talk with shareholders as they leave. 12% said that they just walk right in the door. And B would seek out a shareholder to give his or her proxy. I guess maybe, again, to Alan's point, we could have done an E, all of the above. Or
A
something
lot of
like that.
papers have policies against misrepresenting yourself
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
reporter.
And how would this differ from making a political contribution to go to a private political event, an otherwise private event?
Oh, I
Maybe it
see.
is.
A?
I'm just asking.
You mean A?
Yeah, A.
Or buying the shares?
Yeah, buying the shares versus some other engagement that would allow you to go someplace you otherwise couldn't go.
I guess the rationale is that in some cases, at least the ones I reported on, the shares were held in the media company's name, and it was a share or two, and the idea is that one share you cannot influence. I mean, you don't have any influential power on that
But
one.
definitely, from a TV station standpoint, we would just do C. You know, you can still get a lot of good stuff that way.
So, yeah, sitting out the hotel room, looking at the bar door.